A hovering, systemic problem still haunts American society and triggers more gun violence, and that's hate. Hate crimes in the U.S. hit a 12-year high in 2020, as reported by the FBI. Be it racial or religious or ideological, hate kills. Hatred has long been an illness in America. Check out this Twitter post which quotes Rod Serling, creator and host of the TV series The Twilight Zone, a sickness known as hate, not a virus, not a microbe, not a germ, but a sickness nonetheless, highly contagious, deadly in its effects. And when hate meets guns, hate crimes could become even deadlier.
Buffalo City, the state of New York, May 14th. An 18-year-old self-identified white supremacist opened fire in a local supermarket and live-streamed his killing rampage with a helmet camera.
But now,
Peyton Gendron gunned down 13 people in a predominantly black neighborhood, leaving 10 dead and 3 wounded.
What happened on Saturday was an act of domestic terrorism. This was an act of domestic terrorism perpetrated by a young white supremacist.
In what officials believe to be his 180-page racist, hate-filled manifesto, Gendron espouses replacement theory ideas which falsely claim that non-white races are replacing whites. The Buffalo shooting reflects 2 of America's chronic social cancers: racial hatred and gun violence.
I think in the United States, those are 2 separate issues, but they're linked. We do have a shocking rise in hate crimes, particularly racially motivated hate crimes in this country. And alongside of that, we have the proliferation of arms.
Gun-related killings in the U.S. have been on the rise in recent years. So have been racially motivated mass shootings. Data released by the US CDC shows that more Americans died of gun-related injuries in 2020 than in any other year on record. Among them, Black Americans were about 12 times as likely as white Americans to be the victim of a gun murder. In recent years, the U.S. has also seen notorious racially motivated gun murders of Hispanic and Asian Americans.
Hands up, hands up.
In 2019, in El Paso, Texas, a shooting spree by a 21-year-old white man left 22 people dead. In his manifesto, he railed against the Hispanic invasion of Texas. Hate crimes targeting Asian Americans have also been on the rise. FBI data shows anti-Asian hate crimes increased more than 73% in 2020.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
When the Black Lives Matter movement began in 2013, it opened the doors to another round of heated debate on race in the U.S., including systemic racism.
Prosecute the police! No justice, no peace!
Protesters chant their anger over the increasing number of ethnic minorities falling victim. Still, many others say institutionalized racism does not exist in America.
No, I do not, and I don't believe there's systemic racism in the U.S.
But some others point to the historical roots of systemic racism.
This country was founded on the institution of slavery. Of course, you cannot forget about the mass genocide of the Native Americans that were here when the European settlers, air quotes here, the nicest way I can put that word, the mass genocide of the Native Americans that were here. So, we really have a foundation of institutionalized racism in this country against Blacks, against Hispanics, against Native Americans, and to a slightly lesser extent against Asians that exists to this day. We see it in our institutions with our criminal justice system, how it treats Blacks and Hispanics and other minorities differently than it treats whites. We see it in our educational system with different outcomes for white children in comparison with Black and Hispanic children. So we see institutionalized and systemic racism in this country to this day.
Experts point to an abundance of figures as evidence the odds are stacked against minorities in the U.S., with some coming to light during the coronavirus pandemic.
Ravages of pandemic have it adversely, disproportionately impacted if you are poor and a person of color in the United States. Black poverty is a politically engineered condition.
People of color also face legal injustices. From police to courts to prisons, African Americans often interact with a justice system they say is stacked against them.
What we've seen is, if you are poor and Black, you are not going to get, in most cases, a fair shot in this criminal justice system. Even from minor offenses all the way up to more serious offenses.
And when people with racial bias have easy access to guns which can be manipulated to conduct mass killing, more deadly incidents ensue.
If you have unfettered access to weapons of mass destruction and weapons of war, then when you go out to perpetrate violence against people or a particular community, you will be that much more efficient and that much more effective at perpetrating that violence. And of course, you will be that much more deadly.